Our younger people in this country who's doing a great service to other younger people. His name is Justin Brown. I met him recently through a contact in the Montgomery County area that I have, a great lady whose name is Kathy Corey. Now, Kathy has never appeared on People of Distinction, and she doesn't need to. She stays behind the scenes, and she connects people to people on a pro bono basis because she loves that. She's a former IBM executive, and she just reaches out to introduce like-minded people to other like-minded people. She was at our last People of Distinction Humanitarian Awards on June 19th of this year, and she loved it, and she said, hey, Al, I want to introduce you to a lot of my crowd in the Montgomery County and Washington, D.C. area. And they are just superb people. Many organizations in that area helping out younger people, disadvantaged younger people particularly, and also a lot of the other executives from that area, business executives coming on the show, some politicians as well, and we're going to be putting together our own People of Distinction Humanitarian Unsung Hero Awards in that area. As a result, I've been introduced to so many wonderful people. Why not? That's what we're there for, to put events together, and we're going to be featuring some of the greatest unsung heroes around in that area, and also, around the country. We always have national support here, too. And, go to our website. You can learn more. We'll be announcing things as they come. We're just getting off the gate right now. Go to peopleofdistinction.org for more info on our award ceremonies. Justin is with Westchester University. Now, if you never heard of Westchester University, don't worry about that. There are a lot of universities that are great that you haven't heard of, but I know you heard I'll put it this way, the umbrella university that oversees Westchester. It's the University of Pennsylvania. Now, that is one of the most prestigious universities in the country. It's considered Ivy League, right up to standards with Harvard and Yale and Princeton and everything else. So Justin is of service over there because he helps to guide and counsel, get this, 650 students. Now, if you don't think that that's a big deal here, man, listen to another show, because that is a big deal. Justin's going to explain exactly why it's a big deal, overseeing counseling 650 students, and not just in the everyday way of, all right, come to my office, hand you a couple of pamphlets, and we'll talk for 5 minutes, and that's the counseling. No. He gets deep involved in this, and I love this. He gets involved in some of the controversial issues. Hey, just like People of Distinction. Now, controversy is what you make it. Sometimes we can say, well, that's controversial because, it goes against the grain of ethics and morals. No, there's another sort of controversy. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the controversy that goes right in the grain of morality and ethical behavior that sometimes ain't out there as much as it should. And so we need to get that sort of controversial aspect out there in our society, that positive look, that uplifting look that can uplift everything else that we do in our society in non-threatening ways. Underscore that, people. We're not trying to threaten anybody. We're all part of the human family. We're trying to educate. We're trying to guide in wonderful, loving ways. Again, that word love keeps coming in. Also, get this, Justin believes in acting out stereotypes. Young people are great for doing that because they're just getting off the starting gate in some ways. And they're not prejudiced towards one another, as maybe some other generations were. They accept people more for who they are. And they see those stereotypes out there in the media, in, the adult world. And so they say, well, these stereotypes, they shouldn't really be out there. But we can feature them to learn why these stereotypes exist. And then we can debunk some of these stereotypes. Hey, that's a great methodology there. He's also the head of Onward and Upward. Wonderful, wonderful pathway here. He works with inner city individuals. And again, we're talking about the young people and guidance into college areas. So he's doing a great, great service. We love that. And if you want to know more about some of the things that Justin is involved with, I want you to run to these two websites and find out more, and also listen to Justin. He's going to fill you in. Go to Onward Upward 6. That's the number 6. .wix.com/program. www.onwardupward6.wix.com/program. And you can also visit diversityawareness.wix.com/program. That's www.diversityawareness.wix.com/program. Welcome, Justin, to People of Distinction with Al Cole. It's really a pleasure to have you on today. How are you, Justin?
I'm doing well, Al. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's quite an honor and a privilege.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor and privilege to have you on, too, because we're going to be talking about the things that really count, the stuff that you're doing that my listeners are really going to relate to, and they're going to be really edified by. Let's start out with Justin, the individual, and some of your roots. Get our listeners to know you a little bit, introduce yourself to my listeners in terms of a little bit of your background, not what you're doing right now, but where you come from, some of your roots. Fill us in that way for a minute or so.
Well, great. Yeah. Well, my name is Justin Brown. My roots are from Coatesville, Pennsylvania. And no, we do not make coats there. It's a small town about 30 minutes outside Philadelphia. I have a strong family background in education. My grandmother was a librarian for our local school district and highly emphasized education. And because of that, my father is in education, my mother is in education, my uncle is in education, my aunt, myself, everyone in our family, they're all educators. I received my undergraduate degree from Slippery Rock University of Pennsylvania. I got that in public relations and communications. And I also received my master's degree at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where I received my master's in student affairs and higher education.
Right off the bat, I mean, we're ready to go here. We're off the starting gate with something great because Justin is following the pathway of other individuals in his own family who he's close to, people who he understands, people who understand him, and they have that nexus, education. Now, this is really something, and that's how we learn the best sometimes, through our roots, through the people who bring us up, our parents, and then we can give it back. We can, as we grow, we're teaching our parents as well. And I'm sure that Justin has reached out to his family with a lot of the tips that can help them grow into wonderful adults as well. So we love that. I'm going to start out with this question, Justin. And it's going to seem like, whoa, Al, why are you asking such an obvious question here? But, sometimes the obvious questions are the ones that get us to think the most. And I'm going to ask you this. Why is education so important in our society?
Well, education is the great equalizer. For those who have it, they have the ability to afford better quality lives. They're more developed in regards to their intellect and how they deal with each other day to day, with individuals out in society, out in their individual communities, their work, their churches. But education is so important because it gives you the ability and privilege to go out into the world and have a prestige impact on the individuals you come into contact with day to day.
And I would think with doing Washington University.
Okay.
In D.C. And he told me that the most perilous, most dangerous times in a young person's life, and we're talking about high schoolers right now, or we could even be talking about middle schoolers, but we're not generically talking about college students. The most dangerous, perilous time in their lives are between, and this really got to me, and we got a lot of listeners who emailed and said, "Wow, I never thought of it that way, but that's spot on." Between the hours of 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., not 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., but 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., and the reason is obvious. Hey, that's when they get out of school. And after school, sometimes they don't have the right activities to get involved in. The parents are not around. They're still at work. These kids are on their own. And sometimes when they're on their own, they might be now educating themselves in some of the wrong ways. So after-school programs mean a lot as well. They're invaluable.
Absolutely.
Edifying the kids. Tell us a little bit about this. And I know that the things that you do involve after class activities as well. It's not just, while they're in their classes or during the school time. But when you're managing all of these kids, these 650 students, a lot of that is after-hours stuff. Tell us a little bit about what you do after hours here, after the regular school hours, and now these kids are relaxed and they're ready to be edified. Tell us, some of the edification that they can look forward to.
Well, absolutely, Al. And I want to first start off by saying that I'm a product of the Upward Bound program at Lincoln University through high school. I had many fundamental after-school programs that helped guide me as an individual. And being able to have those opportunities and activities available to me when I was done with my classes during the day, K through 12, it certainly kept me out of trouble. And it certainly gave me alternative things to do besides getting in trouble. Now, there's a difference between what we do at Westchester University and what I do through the Onward and Upward program. Through the Onward and Upward programs, high schools and even colleges alike are able to provide students with tutoring, one-on-one mentoring, mock interviews, resume reviews. We do a lot of different trips with students as well. Not only do we want to say, well, college is great, but we want to show you why. So let's go do a campus visit. Let's go eat in a dining hall. Let's take a tour of campus. Let's go sit in an actual classroom, because it's not enough for us to tell students that these options are available. I fundamentally believe that students are individuals who need to be in the mix. They need to see the mix. Just talking about it's not enough. But for our college students at Westchester University, they have college classes all the time, anywhere between 8 a.m. All the way up to 10 p.m. at night. So when you're talking about this 3 to 6 time, this 3 to 6 time can be even longer. Students can be done their classes at 2 o'clock p.m. And now they have 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the morning the next day to educate themselves. Now, we're hoping that students are getting out of their rooms and that they're going to tutoring, they're doing their homework, getting some out-of-class experiences. But a lot of those students do not do that. So my job as a resident director at Westchester University is to provide students with fundamental activities and alternatives to making poor decisions and giving students the ability to go do those things. For example, we have students who are interested in the arts, so we provide art programs. We have students who are interested in cultural events, so we put on cultural events for students. We have some students who are just interested in getting to know other people within the hall, so we have pizza nights and ice cream nights. Students are able to come out to those things. We have students who have never been off campus, so we do trips like to the Philadelphia 76ers, the Philadelphia Phillies, and we try to make sure that we have programs that are developmentally encouraging students to grow, live, and thrive, and giving them more experiences so they can be better global citizens. It's not enough for the students to just come into school, go through the academics, and leave just being a little bit more book smart. We want students to interact with other individuals from different religions, nationalities, sexualities, religions, backgrounds, so that students become well-versed and more developed in different areas.
That's great. And, hey, people, that's called diversity in the generic sense, because we all have an individual approach here. We are all conscious creations, to put it that way, harkening back to my introduction here. Our consciousness means something, and the way that we see life within our own sets of feelings, values, our own individual emotional intelligence responses. Well, these things matter to us, and now we have to understand what matters to other consciousnesses that we call individuals out there. And once we can relate to ourselves, actually what happens is we can relate to other people better when we relate to ourselves in very authentic ways, non-egotistical ways, and we say, okay, I get it. No, these are the things that I'm good at, but, I'm not good at everything. And maybe there are synergies out there, somebody that I can learn from, somebody that can learn from me. We can partner, and sometimes, it creates a great loving relationship as well between these two people, and maybe get other people involved to become friends. That is very, very important. And you know what, people? If you think it's important too, and I know you do, I want you to visit these two websites again as we speak. Go to diversityawareness.wix.com/program, and also run to Onward Upward 6.wix.com/program. We're with Justin Brown right now on People of Distinction with Al Cole, having a great time. He's a wonderful gentleman out of Westchester University, which is part of the University of Pennsylvania, helps to guide and counsel 650 students. And we're going to now put the emphasis on controversy. All right, let's get controversial here. Now, I'm going to preface it this way. Justin's going to know where I'm coming from, and then we can get his reflections. Now, a lot of times when we use that word controversial, sometimes, we think, oh, boy, okay, they're going to be talking about negativity. They're going to be talking about everything that's wrong. They're going to be waving their banner and trying to push us around and tell us how to think and what to do and how to live. All right, well, let's look at it a different way. Do you think that life is perfect here on this planet, and more particularly in this country? Is there, quote-unquote, room for improvement? Yeah, of course everybody knows that. Well, sometimes what is considered to be controversial is just recognizing the things that we can improve upon. And everybody can do that. Everybody does do that. And now when we start to do it publicly and in some sort of real objective and non-threatening way, and some sort of organized way, now that controversy, it can't be seen as negativity. It has to be seen as something positive, that we are now involved in a group and we're reaching out to others for their opinions. And now we're setting the course for synergy, coming together as a human family and getting along better. Now, that ain't controversial. That is the root of our birth, to come together better as a human family. It's one of the things that Justin is doing here. Tell us some of the things that you do along that way that might initially be seen as controversial in very non-threatening ways, and then resolve problems. Tell us about some of these things, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Al, I work with a program that I created when I was a sophomore in college. It's called D.A.P, and that acronym is for Diversity Awareness Program. And for the past 8 years, D.A.P has presented at over 200 different colleges, 100 different universities, and over 50 different organizations and companies, all on the conversation of diversity, multiculturalism, and cultural awareness. Now, normally, when you get diversity training, you usually get one of three things. You get a person that only talks about black and white, which does not make up the U.S., considering that the U.S. is full of many different people. You get an individual who is very theory-based, where they just talk about all the theory of multiculturalism. So they're talking about the multicultural dissonance theory. And individuals leave the workshop feeling confused and they don't know what the theory is. Or you have an individual who happens to be of color. So you're like, great, they're going to bring in some good perspectives on this. And that individual usually had a situation happen to them in the past, and you can see their anger and kind of hurt come out in the presentation. And that sometimes is more detrimental than itself. The way that I do the workshops and programs is that in a 2-hour period, individuals will come in not knowing each other and leave the presentation feeling uplifted, strong, and really at peace with one another. All of these topics dealing with stereotypes, prejudices, how the media portrays different individuals, the differences between gender, LGBT issues, white privilege, the glass ceiling, individual situations dealing with the differences in gender roles are all facilitated through games and activities. And who doesn't like games and activities? Individuals really get into these sessions and they have a blast. And no one learns more about different individuals around the world than I do. Would you like to hear about one of our activities?
Absolutely, go for it.
Well, again, when we're talking about race or color, those things really bring up some uneasy feelings, Al. So, again, my job is to create an atmosphere where we can have some authentic dialogue without people feeling threatened or people feeling as if they are on edge or feeling that they're in a place where they don't have a voice. Because in this session, you're allowed to say everything that you want, but you must say it respectfully. And if you disagree, you disagree respectfully. We do this thing before we get started where we go over the ground rules, and I have everyone lift up their left leg and slam it on the ground. And I say, your toes are now made out of steel. I call it steel toes. That means that no one can step on your foot because you're all aware of what you're about to go into and what you're about to partake in. But like I said, in about a 2-hour span, we go through anything between 13 to 15 games. I would say the entire presentation is very interactive, so every single person that is in the activity will actually go through all the 13 to 15 games. No one's left out. It's highly interactive, high energy. You're going to be laughing from beginning to end because some of the activities are just so funny, and you learn a lot about yourself and you learn a lot about others. One of the activities is entitled Stereotypes Charades. And I ask individuals, where do we get stereotypes from? And individuals say, well, the media, or I was taught this, or this is what it was in my community. And then I pose the question, are stereotypes real? And to the listeners who are listening, I want you to ask yourself that question too.
You gotta be effing kidding me.
Do you think stereotypes are true? Are they a real thing? And I get mixed messages out. I get, yeah, they're true because I know people who do them. Some people who say, no, they're not true because stereotypes are not an absolute. And then I have people who are on the fence. While we're having this brief dialogue,
come on.
I'm passing out cards, and I have them face down so individuals don't know what they are. And on the back of these cards are different nationalities, different races, religions, backgrounds, groups of people. So some of the examples of these cards, it could say black woman or sorority girl. It could say black male or Indian female or gay or lesbian or handicapped or anything. And everyone's on the table, and I'm passing these cards out, and I tell the individuals, well, great, I think we need to have some more conversation about stereotypes, because some of you are saying they're real, and some of you are saying they're not. And I said, what we're about to go into is an activity called Stereotype Charades, and I have everyone flip over their cards, and Al, you should just see the surprised looks on their face, because very much like charades, the individuals will get up, and they're going to act this card out in front of the entire, with all the participants sitting in the room, and where all the participants that are sitting in the room are going to guess what that stereotype is. Now, that doesn't mean that you personally feel that way. We're just acting out the stereotypes. But Al, let me tell you, it creates an atmosphere where individuals are laughing, and we're really diving into some deep conversations because there's some great dialogue that comes from these different acts that people act out, because we really can sit together and really say, where did that come from? Or how did...
I'm gonna kill my phone.
you get to that conclusion? Or there are a bunch of... The presentations, all of them, like I said, 13 to 15 games, they're about 80% the audience, 20% me. I'm there never there to push an agenda or to force people to think a certain way. My job is to be able to bring out the things that we already know, we already talk about with our friends, we already talk about with ourselves, and be able to create an environment where individuals can learn from one another. Because again, I think a lot of the learning that takes place in higher education is outside of the classroom.
Wow. What a great rundown there. I'll tell you. And we should explore this stuff. And the way that you're doing it is particularly keen because you are not telling us what those stereotypes are. People are just acting them out, and then we guess. And, of course, we're a lot of times spot on. Sometimes we're completely off, and we say, whoa, boy, I had this conjuring up in my own mind about this, that, and then, boy, was I wrong.
Yeah,
this stuff is amazing, and I love that. And I'll add to the thought here with what I call kind of people of distinction thought. Justin is doing a great job with stereotypes, debunking stereotypes, getting people to understand that we can't base our impressions on stereotypes. And the way that I add to that in my way is have the courage, people, to visit what you consider to be stereotypes on the outside. All right, well, this is a black person. Black people are like this. This is a Hispanic person, and Hispanics are like this. This is a young person. This is a middle-aged person. This is an older person. This is a woman. This is a successful businessman. This is all of these stereotypes. Every once in a while, have the courage to, on your inside, again, getting back to consciousness, people, have the courage to invite whatever stereotypes you have the time for at that time into your consciousness and say, what if I were this black individual? What if I were this Hispanic individual? Or what if I were this disabled individual? Or what if I were this senior citizen? Or whatever. Any sort of stereotype, every once in a while, invite that into you and converse with it. Have a conversation on your inside. It's not that bizarre. We have all the facilities for that, people. We know about dreaming. We think that, wow, if somebody from another planet were to come down here and investigate dreaming, and they had no concept of what dreaming, they'd say, oh, you people are kind of weird. You people are lunatics. What, you mean when you're sleeping to revitalize and recharge your batteries and, help your body that way, you actually go to different realms on the inside? You actually, maybe jump off of buildings and land without hurting yourself and all of this? Wow, and maybe they'll say, gee, let us learn some of that. Well, you can dream sometimes not even closing your eyes. Sometimes you can dream about some great possibilities, and we'll get to that too in this show. Investigating stereotypes. And with always in mind that we have more in common than we have in difference. And when you're checking somebody else's stereotype out on your inside, say, okay, well, how does this person feel about being that person? How does this feel? How does this person cope with that? And as if you were that person, after a while, that human energy is going to get to you, and you will identify, and you won't have that prejudice factor involved. Is that ringing true here, Justin? Does that make some sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, what our mission is, we try to get individuals to learn to unlearn. And that is truly a conscious effort and a decision you have to make on your own. We do another activity where I ask individuals, I said, how many of you are prejudiced? Stand up. And now I have groups anywhere between 300 to 1,800. 1,800 has been my largest group. That was at Bloomsburg University. And I only have a few people stand up. And I said, I guess none of you have ever prejudged anything before you ever tried it or prejudged anyone. And then everybody looks around and goes, oh, yeah, that's me. We have to own our own prejudices. We all have them. I'm a diversity facilitator, and let me tell you, I have a lot of prejudices myself. But you know what? It's okay. I'm self-aware of those things, and I try to teach other people, be self-aware about those as well. But you have to learn to unlearn. It's just really interesting how fast individuals can change when it comes to certain activities, or just having an open ear where you're really able to hear what other people have to say. We do an activity where, this one's a really popular one as well, where I have all the women, or those who identify as being a woman, come sit in the middle of the circle and have all the men on the outside. And I said, okay, ladies, tonight what's going to happen is for the next 7 minutes, I want you all to talk about men. That's the subject. You can say whatever you like. 7 minutes, the floor is yours. And I said, gentlemen, you are on the outside, and you are not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to comment, defend, suck your teeth, or your eyes, anything. Your job is to listen. And it's just so interesting what women say about men, and then what we do is after the 7 minutes are over, we flip-flop, and we allow the men, or those who identify as being a male, go in the middle, and then they have their say. And it's just so interesting when we can really hear what people are saying, and when we come back together, just the processes, all the processes are so funny when we have individuals be able to speak about what they heard and where they felt that way or why they think that way, and just having both sets of parties be able to hear everything. Normally it's one-sided when you're talking with your friends or to your family, but now you have to put yourself out there and have individuals see what you choose and think. We have another game called This or That. I love it because a lot of times we make decisions, Al, and they're inward decisions. They're not the ones where people are seeing what active decisions we're making. And what I do is I give individuals a choice. They can either choose this or that. There is no middle. So I start off with subjects like cats or dogs, and individuals will split up in the room. They'll either go to one side or the other. And I start them off very easily. Texting or calling, love or money. In Pennsylvania, a big controversy. Steelers or the Eagles, and people choose. But then we get a little bit deeper. I say church or no church, and individuals always say that that's the one that they felt most judged on, because those who don't go to church feel like the ones that are at church judge them on that side. And we talk about why they chose that side, because if I look at someone, I can't say, oh, well, they don't go to church, just because I'm looking at them. And based on your decision is where you move. And individuals say, well, what about people who don't go to church? Or what about people who stay at home but still affiliate with the type of religion? We do things like privilege or no privilege, LGBT or no LGBT, individuals dealing with differences in politics, and have individuals share what side they're going on, because again, now these decisions that you're making are physical, because people can see which side you're going on, and not having this middle ground really makes people feel uncomfortable. But then I pose the question, how many of you have been forced to not have a middle ground? How many of you have ever been forced to choose a side? And just the testimonies that people share about their families, their loved ones, their religious affiliations, they all teach things that almost are closer relatable to hate or discrimination or even racism, and them knowing that this wasn't right, but I chose to do this because I was forced to do this. And I say, well, how many times have you guys heard about diversity? And they'll all raise their hand. I said, what do usually people talk about? They said, well, they only talk about black and white. And I tell them that today, diversity is no longer black or white. It's no longer this or that. There is a middle ground. And then we go into our middle ground activity. All of the games and activities are highly relatable. And like I said, everyone interacts. It's a highly interactive workshop, and individuals just have a blast. And it's just really fun for these individuals to be able to come out and participate in these activities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love that. And we're learning here, too. I'll tell you, you have to learn to unlearn sometimes. And that is the height of education in many, many cases. And Justin Brown is cluing us in on that. He's from Westchester University, a part of the University of Pennsylvania. And he's helping to guide and counsel about 650 students. And we've been talking it up here on People of Distinction with Al Cole. Visit these two websites, learn more, diversityawareness.wix.com/program. Also go to Onward Upward 6.wix.com/program. We've got some minutes left in the show right now. I'm going to tail it off, Justin, with a couple of things here. We're going to start a little bit with Onward Upward and statistics that I want to throw out to you. And then we're going to cap it off with some possibility thinking. So stick around, people. You're going to love all of this on People of Distinction with Al Cole. With Onward and Upward, of course, you're working with inner city youth, people still at the high school level, maybe even middle school level. The Now, we know that education in the inner city areas, and now we're talking formal education, is, I don't know if it's at an all-time low, but over the last 10 years, 15 years or so, certainly has dwindled. And women or females in the inner city seem to do better than men generally, and certainly at the college level. But still, there is about a 50% dropout rate, and sometimes even higher. I mean, this matches divorce rates here, and we know how horrendous that is. How do you get inner city kids, and again, we have some minutes left, but have to get to these things in a sort of a tapered way here. We'll have you back, to expand on these things.
Yeah, we'd love to be back.
How do you get inner city kids to now go, I'll put it this way, even go against the grain of a little bit of their upbringing, go against the grain of their peer pressure, we could even put, especially for the guys, to become onward and upward with formal education, especially in college? How do you go about achieving some of these things?
Well, I think inner city students have a very negative reputation. I think when individuals look at these students, they think, oh, well, these students don't want anything, and these students aren't going to amount to anything. And in fact, some of the smartest and most bright individuals I've ever met in my life all have come from inner city. But there's the thing, Al. The thing is that we either have individuals who are informed and individuals who are uninformed. And again, like we stated, education is the great equalizer. For those who have it, there comes and breeds success in life. And for those that don't have education, they might not necessarily be unsuccessful, but their path in getting there is very different. And these students are begging, yearning, and dying to have individuals pay attention to them, give them information on how to be successful. So when you're talking about the differences between men and women, and I can give you quick situations on both of them, a lot of the times when I'm talking to the inner city males, they're talking about, well, I want to be a basketball player, I want to be a football player, I want to go and do this professional team. And I say, you know what, that's great. A lot of people go ahead and shoot that idea down. They're like, no, we don't want to tell them that. I say, yes, we do. Because what I want to teach these students is that being that basketball player, being that football player can be your ticket to higher education. And higher education is your ticket to a better lifestyle, not your ticket to the NBA or to the NFL. It's your ticket to get some formalized education, because if you break your leg, you will always have this degree to back down on. If you have a medical injury and you need to be out, you don't have to worry about these things. I want to teach students to be well-rounded individuals in and outside of the classroom, and that a lot of these athletes are getting paid to go to school, and students love money. That is a big reason for why they go to school. And I said, well, you know what? If you love money, then getting a formalized education is a great thing. So how many of you have ever thought about being accountants? None of them, they all look at me like I'm crazy. Anybody want to go into the school of dentistry? Anybody want to go and work for students in higher education? These are things that are not being shared and explained to these students. They don't even know that these opportunities and experiences exist outside of where they are, because they don't see individuals who are doing that, nor that they have individuals conveying that to them. So my job is to be able to say, here are all the cards on the table. And not only are the cards on the table, but I'm going to have these cards be face up so you can see every single card. Now it's your choice to decide which card you choose to play, because we all make decisions, Al. And our decisions affect what happens on later on in life.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And right now in life, on this show, People of Distinction with Al Cole and Justin Brown being our great guest, we can learn something right now about stereotyping, because in my question, and I was aware of this, in my question to Justin, I was to some extent stereotyping as well, with inner city youth, and sometimes going against the grain of some of their influences of being an inner city youth. And Justin was very quick, and I want to put the emphasis on this, in saying, one of the first things he said in answering the question was, well, these inner city youth they're really hungry for opportunities to learn, to grow. And that is a big key here, people. If we don't have the opportunities, then growth becomes pretty, now academic in another sense. It flies out the window. And then what flies in, some of the more unsavory prospects that we have to face as a society. If we reach out, first and foremost, if we reach out to people in ways of equity, no matter who these people are, they're human beings. And if we say to ourselves, first and foremost, they aren't different from us if we're educators. They're not different from us if we're politicians. They're not different from us if we are business people. Let me explore with them some of the opportunities that we can have together to grow. Whoa. A lot of inner city youth are going to come up with some of the best answers. They are quick. I know that from my own experience growing up. I applaud Justin for what he's doing, and particularly pointing that out on people of distinction with Al Cole. Justin, we only have a few minutes left in the show right now. I want to take it out with some possibility thinking.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what I mean here. And we've been talking a lot of possibility thinking throughout the show. And I want to really pinpoint now. If we all of a sudden lived in a society, and because it's possibility thinking, we can do this. We can manage it this way. We live in a society where now there are no stereotypes. Or at least the stereotypes live within us. So any stereotype that comes across our radar screen, we can deal with because, oh, yeah, that's me. Oh, yeah, sure, I've been there, done that. When we start to live in that sort of society, and we start to live in a society that can accept positive criticism, because, again, it lives in us. Oh, yeah, I've thought about that. Oh, I love what you're talking about. Yeah, that's something we can explore. And, you know, an open society, a really open society now. What kind of different society would we have? Again, this is kind of like asking that first question. Why is education so important? It seems like a no-brainer. Oh, yeah, we're going to have a better society, Al. In what ways? Now, how would that change some of our institutions? How would that change some of our ways of dealing with people interrelationshiply and also with our relationships? How would that change some of the infrastructure even of our society? Big time question here.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can write a book on that, Justin. But just give us, you know, a few minutes of some sort of answer here, and you know, add some inspiration to it. How can that really change our society in very, very, very elemental, concrete sorts of ways, where we look around and we say, "Whoa! Now that we're dealing in this society, this isn't like our other society, and I like this society better." What sorts of changes can we look forward to into the future once we do get on board with onward and upward ways of thinking?
Wow. Well, first off, if a society like this existed, I would be out of a job. But, you know, it's wishful thinking, because having this job gives me the ability to work with individuals. But let me tell you about this new society where none of these things exist. A society like this where none of these things exist, I would walk into the cafeteria and everybody from different nationalities, races, color, creed, sexualities, they all be sitting with each other. I would walk into classrooms and all the students of color won't be sitting in the back. They'll be sitting amongst their peers, the same as in the residence halls. Different roommates would be with each other. In this type of society, women wouldn't be treated as if they're less than. They would have equal pay and would be able to have the opportunity to experience any type of job that they want and not be forced into a box due to their gender or their chosen gender or gender role. Individuals would not be afraid to go out on the street due to the color of their skin, but individuals would be able to, we wouldn't have any, I don't even know if we would have a situation or a society where color of skin would really matter, because individuals wouldn't pay too much attention to interracial relationships, and individuals would be colored, mixed, and combined with many different races, nationalities, and sexualities, and individuals would all be able to come together, and we'd all be one. I think we'd have more fun out. I think a lot of people play a lot of emphasis on why we're so different, and it sounds very cliche to say, you know, I can't find anything that's the same with me, and this other individual. I would like to say that I think more individuals have more in common and more things that are alike than are different. Because at the end of the day, individuals all have a heart. We all bleed blood, and we all see the same sun when we walk out of our doors. And that's how I know that we're all connected, and that's how I know that individuals have more alike than they do differences. But I think we'd have more of a fun world because individuals would be able to have fun with each other. We would know what to expect. We wouldn't be living by the societal norms because everybody would know what it takes to be a part of a well-rounded and fully functional community where individuals love one another.
Isn't that something? I'll tell you, people, Justin is a sharp guy. And I say that because in the answers that he just gave, the reflection that he just gave to my possibility thinking question, he went into specifics. I've done about 1,000 people of distinction shows, and Justin came up with one of the most specific, great answers. I mean, he said, well, in that sort of world, we won't find people just clumping together in their own groups for security purposes. He didn't say security, but that's one of the reasons why we do that. We wouldn't see the overt differences all of a sudden among us based on groups or based on what we consider to be some of the stereotypes. So we just accept people. And I'll add to that in the final minute here of the show with again, the way that I always approach things here on People of Distinction, just to get these sorts of ideas out there. A lot of times we are insecure because we're wondering, can somebody else figure our failures out? Is there somebody who's looking over our shoulder and tapping into our brain waves, so to speak, and figuring out how we think? And maybe sometimes we think that, well, we don't think good enough, or we don't act well enough. And so if we put on a facade that we do think well enough, better than we know that we do, and we do act better than we know that we do, we can fool a lot of the people around us into thinking that we're, as far as we define it, at a higher level. And so we don't blow our own cover that way. Now, if we live in a different sort of world where people know pretty much what's on other people's minds, not the boogeyman stuff of, hey, look, Big Brother's looking over your shoulder, I know what you're thinking, and from that, I'm going to control you. No, not that. I can empathize. Put that in your dictionary here. I can feel a lot of your feelings. I can feel some of your hurt. I can feel your ecstasies. I can feel your accomplishments. I can engage in your accomplishments and applaud your accomplishments because I understand you. And that's a hop, skip, and a jump away from saying, I care about you. Whoa. Now, that sort of thing, we don't have to feel insecure about that. And once we get closer to our fellow man, our fellow woman, and we figure out that, wow, they're not that much different from us. And now we live in a society where we don't have to stereotype. And we can actually feel non-threatened when we're asked certain questions that we otherwise consider to be personal. They're no longer just personal. Now they are caring questions. It's if, wow, a family member is asking me this for my own good, and I'm answering maybe to help them out with some advice that I can give. We think that way. We are a human family. Now we don't have to be threatened by other members of that human family. And that, I believe, is a coming renaissance in our world. I think we're there to some extent in different groups, but certainly we're not there 100%. We know that. But we can be there, more and more people. And especially if the media chips in and starts airing, some deep stuff every once in a while, or at least sometimes, and talking about real interpersonal relationships, we can get there in a hurry. And that is the people of distinction way of doing it, and particularly when we have a great guest like Justin Brown on from Westchester University, a division of the University of Pennsylvania. And he's a guy who is out there. He's a young person himself. He's out there helping other young people, and particularly helping people to deal with some of the controversial issues in non-threatening ways, acting out stereotypes in non-threatening ways, and really educative and enlightening ways, and we love that. He's also the head of Onward and Upward, and I do invite him back for another show. We can explore more about Onward and Upward as well. Go to these two websites, people, in closing. diversityawareness.wix.com/program. Also, onwardupward6.wix.com/program. Thank you so much, Justin, for being my special guest here today on People of Distinction with Al Cole. This has really been a pleasure and an honor having you on today, Justin. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me on. It's been the best thing I've done probably in my entire life.
Wow.